This one is particularly interesting, folks. From that park place, Epic Universe is already hurting Disney World attendance, and experts say the worst is yet to come. July 3rd, 2025 by Marvin Montanaro. This one I thought was particularly fascinating culture because, well, didn't we hear from Mr. Josh Giamaro himself? Hey, it's gonna be all okay. A rising tide lifts all boats. Well, apparently, it doesn't lift Disney's boat. Epic Universe hasn't even officially opened to the public, and it may already be shifting the gravitational center of Orlando tourism away from Walt Disney World. Nice phrasing there, Marvin. I do appreciate that.
Right.
Somebody has been saying that for a little while, maybe a couple of someones on our various channels. With billions of dollars on the line and attendance projections raising eyebrows, experts believe Universal Orlando Resort's massive new park is triggering a long-term attendance crisis for the Mouse House, and the numbers support that view. Universal's parent company Comcast has spent over $10 billion developing Epic Universe and enhancing its global theme park footprint between 2018 and 2024. Epic alone, with its 5 immersive themed lands, including Celestial Park, Dark Universe, Super Nintendo World, Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and How to Train Your Dragon, Isla Berg, is expected to increase Universal Orlando's annual attendance by 10 million guests. A stunning 50% boost from current levels. And now compare that with Disney. The Walt Disney Company has pledged $60 billion in capital spending over the next decade for its parks, experiences, and parks division. But as of now, none of that staggering investment appears to be driving substantial near-term growth in Orlando. In fact, Disney World attendance is projected to remain flat between 2024 and 2026, a plateau that starkly contrasts Universal's trajectory. Now, this information comes actually from a site called Fast Company, and they are quoting Moffett-Nathanson, which, by the way, that was the same firm that we heard the initial projections for the attendance and the projected cannibalization from Disney. I believe they anticipated 1 million guests who would otherwise visited Walt Disney World going over to Epic Universe instead. Now, if we go on to this article, The Battle for Orlando, How Epic Universe Could Impact Disney World Theme Park Attendance, again from Fast Company and Christopher Zara, we can go down right here and we can see some of the quotes here. What we have seen in the past is that there is a bit of cannibalization from the parks that the existing company has. So even when Disney has opened their newer gates, there is sometimes a little bit of a drop-off from their existing gates because most guests are not going to do every single park in Orlando in one single visit. They're referring to what happened in 1988 with Animal Kingdom when that opened. Disney was expecting that people would add a vacation day in order to see Animal Kingdom. In fact, though, people took away a vacation day from maybe Epcot or Magic Kingdom to visit Animal Kingdom. So they didn't quite get the increased attendance they were expecting. And a lot of people believe that that same effect was going to happen with Epic Universe, when in fact, it did not. And it, or at least isn't projected to do so here. Now, if you look here, this is their visitor forecast. You can see Disney parks remain flat at about 54 to 57 million guests over 2024 to 2028. And you can see Universal's parks, the existing Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida, you can see where that remains somewhat flat as well. The big distinguishing factor here is Epic Universe. And you can see in the first year from the point that it opened in May to the point that the year closes in December, that's going to achieve 5.2 million. And then the first full year, you can see that almost 10 million visitor number. This is significant for a range of reasons, but I want to go ahead and give Culture an opportunity to chime in, and I want to know what he thinks. Culture, please.
I think we haven't even begun to see the collapse in attendance at Disney parks. I think, like, you were talking about the lovely quote that's used, that, a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, not if the boat is riddled with holes and sitting on the bottom already. Disney has not done anything to add value to their parks in a very long time. And things that they have done to the parks visibly, if you're a guest and have been paying attention, has done nothing but become detrimental to what the experience used to be. You can look around at Project Gamma, which is what Epcot was, or whatever version of that was what Epcot became. You can look at that and say, wow, this is disappointing what we got here. We didn't get anything close to the number of items we were promised in the presentation. And that seems to be happening with everything Disney touches. We get less with each iteration of change and with the aging out and the replaced Imagineering. So if you compare back to New Fantasyland, which opened with much fanfare and little bonus to it. As a matter of fact, they got a net negative out of that eventually as far as attraction count goes. You can't put places in that are new and wonderful and yet still lose in the attraction count situation. Attractions are very important to guess. It's, like what new rides are coming. Well, basically none. Outside of Cosmic Rewind, what was a net gain when we had the work done at Epcot? Nothing. What's going to be the net gain of destroying Frontierland? Nothing. You're going to get minuses everywhere, including Tom Sawyer's Island, which just closed yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, and never to be, ventured on again. And if you're looking for updates on that, our friend Ron over at Follow the Bradleys Fun actually did some coverage of that. And it's one of the things about the team here is we're able to cover all these stories because people are able, but if all we can highlight is net losses when it comes to attractions and experiences for Disney, or if they continue to pull out the value and remove any perk that, you could conceive of, I just don't know. So you add all of that to the fact that right down the street, you have this amazing theme park that just continues to grow and dazzle with everything that they add, increasing their net attraction count, every time they do, including even preserving the coasters here that were presumed to have been knocked out at some point in time when they added Harry Potter. Then if you just continue to look at where they're pushing forward and Disney is struggling to just stay consistently at the same level, if you're not growing, you're decaying, and Disney's in that decay. So it's not a surprise. We predicted it. We knew what was going to happen. We knew for a fact that we were going to end up in a situation where you had just nothing but good at Universal and not anything new at Disney. And that's it. That's the beginning and the end of the story. Is people look forward to visiting a new theme park. Universal is going to get busier and busier. They already know this. They are reacting immediately, unlike Disney, to signs of growth and opportunity, and they're expanding already. And they'll be expanding for the next 5 years from what we've heard. So I'm very much looking forward to this.
Now, you say the beginning and the end of that story, Culture, but I remember people predicting before Epic Universe even opened, well, it's only going to be really relevant in the first year. What happens? And I remember hearing, well, you're going to experience a lot of cannibalization from your existing parks, not too dissimilar in a fashion that Disney experienced actually with Animal Kingdom, as I was outlining before. But that's just simply not the case. That's not what we're seeing here. In fact, that $7 billion investment seems to be a straight net add of 10 million. Again, if you're getting 10 million guests in Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure each, right? And you're adding a park that can get its own 10 million. I mean, that is a fantastic investment. I want to go ahead and go to the AECOM, Themed Entertainment Association numbers right here from their report. This is from 2023. We can see right here, Magic Kingdom at 17 million guests annually. You can also see, let's see here, Epcot at about 11 million, and Disney Hollywood Studios at about 10 million. And then I think Animal Kingdom dropped off pretty good at about 8 million. So roughly, very, very roughly, folks, anywhere between 45 to 50 million guests annually per year between those four parks. Magic Kingdom obviously making up the bulk of that. But if you could see right here, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida, they are both at about 10 million to 9.7 million. And again, this is from 2023. We know that's the 2024 numbers are probably going to be higher than that. So about 10 million guests annually per both of those parks. Again, a lot of people predicted that, okay, well, if you have an area that has, let's say, now 6 theme parks from the big 2, and you add another one, now that's 7, you're talking about roughly 80 million guests there. Can the area support that? A lot of people predicted, well, maybe it can't. Maybe you will get a lot of cannibalization, and maybe it's going to come from Universal specifically. And it's like, well, no. A couple of reasons for that. Animal Kingdom, that debuted in 1998. The population of the country has almost, I think, doubled, if not increased by like 75% since that time period. So just from the country alone, you have more population from which to pull from. And then when you look at the compelling offerings at Universal, as Culture was mentioning right now, well, no, they're not going to cannibalize from their existing parks because their existing parks are all kind of new. Universal Studios Florida, it's got a it needs a little help, and apparently it will be getting it. But those attractions, those experiences, those are still compelling offerings. Walt Disney World is a legacy property, and it really hasn't added all that much in the last, I would say, 10 years or so. So what are people going to do? They're going to go over to what's new. That's exactly what MoffettNathanson is predicting in their report right here. I just think it's just incredibly fascinating because so many people got this wrong. I know some big people in the amusement space and also the Disney kind of community that were predicting all kinds of stuff for Epic Universe. Apparently, at least according to this forecast, it's just not the case. Data's not bearing this out.
Yeah, I was very curious when we were originally talking about this months and months and months ago about what the net effect would be for Universal. And I was one of those people saying, no, this is not going to be cannibalization here. People are actually just going to extend their vacation and move one of their days that they would have given to Disney to this, and they were more likely to stay longer at Universal properties than they ever had before. So there was only going to be net gain across the board here. Again, I still think that a year from now, when we look back, they will have secured about 20% of market share that they didn't have before. And I'm just going to stick with that number. Yeah. I said a year of operation, we're going to be looking at a sea change, a complete title shift in who was going to grow. And we're already in the growth spurt. So I have a feeling that now with new ticket options coming available, I don't know if we're talking about that story today, but you're going to have even more people take one of their Disney days, even if they're staying on the Disney side, and spend it over at Universal for one reason in particular. And again, that's how you get that 20% market share increase and loss for Disney.
And that's the thing too. Like a lot of people were predicting, oh, well, you know what? They could just take what these Epic Universe experiences offer and just put them in their existing parks. They couldn't. They were landlocked. Unlike Disney, they didn't really have anywhere to go or grow. So that's why they had to, acquire land the way they did. And a lot of people were like, well, like I was saying before, can't you even support a new park? Are you going to get the gains that you're thinking? A 10 million straight up addition. Even if they were to add those 4 portals to their existing parks, you wouldn't have 10 plus million guests. There's no way. So this absolutely added value. This absolutely added a way for guests to spend their vacations, significant time on their vacations at this new park and at this really revitalized resort. And like Culture said, 20% market share being cannibalized from Disney. I believe it. I mean, the growth that Disney should have experienced, I think, is going to go to Epic Universe instead. And that's the thing. Disney's strategy seems to be, well, let's just go ahead and make more from less. That is in less guests, right? That's why their costs and everything, prices as aggressively as they are. Whereas Universal's like, let's just offer them more and they'll stay longer.
Well, and that's coming to bite them in the booty. I mean, we probably have a story we could cover about that, I imagine, or perhaps Pro will later today. But Disney is in danger of losing their most important customers, and it's because they are pricing themselves beyond what they're worth. They're a very masculine lady that is trying to boss babe you around right now, and most people are not having that. That's not.
Indeed, it is not. That's for sure. Well, look, the aging lady isn't aging gracefully, as there hasn't been much investment in the. This is a terrible analogy, but suffice it to say, Universal's adding more. Disney's trying to do more with less, and I think Universal's on the right track. And it's great to see that industry analysts are predicting in equal measure what we have been predicting for a long time.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.